Welcome to the Friday Transportation Seminar Series. So my name is Qing Lu, and I'm Associate Professor at the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department. So today we are very glad to have Dr. Wang, Dr. Zhonglong Wang from Caltrans to talk about the general transportation in California. Okay. And Dr. Wang is right now is the chief of the Office of Mobility Programs at the California Department of Transportation, known as Caltrans. Currently, he manages multiple statewide mobility programs, such as the Connected Corridor, Operational Improvement Analysis and Investigation, and the Project Environmental Impact Analysis. So prior to this assignment, he was the office chief managing the statewide 80,000 lane kilometers pavement maintenance and rehabilitation programs, from the data crashing to project managing, project programming using payment management system called a PayM. As a registered civil and traffic engineer in California, Dr. Wang has more than 30 years of experiences in transportation project development and management, program administration, and academic teaching and research. Dr. Wang serves on TRB standing committees, including the traffic flow theory and characteristics and payment management. He also serves on several NCHRP research project panels and chairs one on new mobility options and modeling solutions. Dr. Wang published more than 40 journal papers in various refereed journals and is now an associate editor for the Journal of the International Journal on Transportation Science and Technology. And Dr. Wang graduated from the University of Tennessee, National University of Singapore, and Tongji University in China. And he's a fellow member of the Institute of Transportation Engineer. And our Friday seminars is co-sponsored by the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and the Center for Urban Transportation Research. And also it's all co-sponsored by several UTCs, including the National Institute of Congestion Reduction and the Center for Transportation and Environmental and Community Health, and the TOMIS, the Teaching Automodal New Tricks, and it's also co-sponsored by the USF student chapter of the ITE. So welcome to the seminar. And Dr. Wang, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Lu and Dr. Zhang. So thank you for the invitation. So y'all folks see my slides okay, right? And I hope you hear me okay too. So because I cannot see you folks. I have about, Qing, can you confirm that? Everything good, right?
Yeah, everything is good, yeah.
Very good. All right, so thank you again for the opportunity. Zhonglong Wang here, Caltrans Office Mobility Programs. So glad to have this opportunity, to share some of my personal experience with you. And the presentation was created by the author for educational purposes. It does not represent any official views, policies of the state of California. So that is the disclaimer. And hopefully y'all folks wouldn't use any piece of the presentation, to have any purpose other than education, against me or the department. All right, folks. So I have to make it very, very clear. And some of the slides, the pictures, the copyrights, I might not even have those. All right, so because these are the properties of the state of California, but for educational purposes, I wouldn't mind to share with you, and especially my personal experience. So let us have that in mind. I have a total about 60 slides, and the only one topic I want to talk will be change. Either you call it change, you call it evolution, or you call it revolution of the transportation industry, right? So that's the theme, what I'm going to talk about. With this outline here, I have especially 30-something years experience. I did have developed some historical perspective. So that's something I want to really, really share with you. And then I will talk about the challenges and solutions facing the transportation industry as a whole. And also I landed on you, the workforce. All right, so because your folks at the school, so I think this is the best time for your folks to develop expertise, to tailor yourself to the change, evolution, or revolution in the industry. Let's share some historical perspective with you first. California, you folks know, we're close to the Pacific Ocean and really at a diagonal distance from your folks, Florida, your folks, really on the shore of Atlantic Sea and the Caribbeans, right? And California landmass is a lot more larger than Florida, although we share a lot of similarities out there. In California, I think the key is the Central Valley. You see that's a lot of the nuts, agricultural products your folks might already be enjoying. And we do have, the Rocky Mountains, surrounding this Central Valley basin, right? So in this area, San Francisco, and then down south will be LA and also San Diego areas. Why I introduce these will be leading you to see the land use piece. Because when we talk about transportation, we really have to start from the land use. And this is a picture I just grabbed from the city of Sacramento where I reside. And it's not too far from my household, and then you will see at least 3 very distinct land use patterns here. On the left-hand side, you will see very rural setup, right? Very rural and a low density. And then here, you also see in the middle here, you see the land use is a little bit denser, but in the medium density as compared to the rightmost side of the picture. Okay, so these are the land use patterns that developed over ages, right? Multiple years out here, right? So your folks will see how this land use pattern will also create an impact on the road system. So I hope your folks appreciate, because I worked with the USF before, that's Professor Christine Williams, on access management, right? So when you have a denser land use development, you will see the access points along the arterial will really a lot more denser than the low density development. So I believe your folks are transportation majors, so we'll have no issue appreciating, what has been shown in this picture. And then here is a repeat of this low density, and then here a repeat of the higher density. So you see all these different access points, right? See, this one access point now will serve so many houses out there, right? As compared to the low density development. So this is the land use pattern, and that's where all the traffic got generated, right? So every morning you will see all these households, they send cars to the alleys and into the local roads, and then to the arterial, to lead to the freeway, isn't it? So that's just a day in, day out, like a pendulum, so that's what we are talking about, the origin of all this transportation and transportation issues. That's the land use. So keep that in your mind. And not only the land use pattern, we also talk about, transportation service population. And in California, over the last 140 years, you will see the population will continue to grow all the way to about 40 million in this state. And yes, recent years, we see some dipping in our total number of population or the growth rate, right? So the red line are the growth rates or the annual changes. But again, this same piece of line, if you compare with the 1900s, we are really dealing with a lot of additional mobility needs across the same piece of land, right? So yes, we also build a lot additional infrastructure, but again, when you see the population grow, and then when you also consider how these people travel, that's this slide is showing, in the San Francisco County and city areas, that's very much a urbanized area. So you see how people is traveling, especially the blue band. You will see the blue, basically that's the transit use, right? See, the blue band is transit use. You will see, a lot of people is traveling using transit. And yes, the pinky and salmon colored, they talk about driving solo or, carpool or some other modes of travel. And then you also have people walk, see, in the green band, right? And then if you compare this San Francisco County with Napa County, that's really a neighboring county, not too far away, from city of San Francisco. You will see the green band, somehow shrinked a little, but very much conspicuous will be the blue band. That will be the transit. You compare these two charts out there, you will see, hey, in Napa County, all of a sudden the transit dependence from San Francisco 34%, and Napa you only have 2.2%, right? So when all these three slides, you put it together, you have population continue to grow, and then you have the mode share by transit, only have about 1/3 that's in the city and only 2% in the rural area, rural counties, like Napa County is a rural county representative. Oh man, a lot of the dependence will be on driving solo or on automobile, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. You have the land use out there, you have the mode sharing out there, and then you have the population growth. So what will be the issue? The issue will be you see all this freeway out there, right? Remember, in Napa County, only 2.2% using this transit. So a lot of people depend on the freeway, and that's a common theme in the freeway in California. I think it's the same probably in Florida, very much congested, and you see the congestion continue or the delay continue to grow. This is the chart in California, okay? Yeah, although population grow in the last 20 years by 13%, but traffic delay grow by 28%. So all these things are really commonplace for your folks to understand. No issue. I don't think that we have any issue. So that's the situation. Again, I want to chime in a little bit on the historical perspective. That will be, we have tried to deal with the congestion or the delay issue, especially auto delay, by building additional roadway infrastructure. This trend has taken place ever since, the 1700s. At that time, you see Sir Junipero Serra, the first Spanish kind of missionary, in California area. At that time, 1700s, I think they count on as transportation will be walking or wagon, right? Or enemy-drawn cars. But after automobile came into being, especially after Henry Ford, we have mass production of the A model cars out there. All of a sudden, we have seen a lot additional cars out there because everyone can afford a car, especially in the 1900s out there, right? And that pushed the infrastructure construction, I say fever. That is a fever, especially in the 1940s. And then the 1940 to 1969, this country really ushered in a heavy era. I tell you, at that time, in the city of LA, they have a grandeur plan of putting in freeways every 5 miles in the city grid. So correct me, if I got this number wrong or anything, but that is the heavy era, especially combined with after, Second World War, you have the 1956 Eisenhower interstate system we see today as the interstate system, right? You will see a lot additional freeways got constructed. Until the 1970s, that's the CEQA, and then CEQA, that's the California Environmental Quality Act, and also NEPA, that's the, I hope your folks understand the NEPA, that's the National Environmental Protection Act, right? So 1970, all the way to 1995 as another era when environmental law put into place. That will really put the stop of the further expansion or quick expansion of the heavy era. Because we start to realize all the pollution, all the greenhouse gas emission, all those type of things, is hurting people's health. It's also, creating nationwide or worldwide issues. We start to realize that. And then after that, with all the population continue to grow, we see what do we do if we have also environmental concerns out there, and then we can only count on the system management piece. That has been an era from 1996 to present. Okay, so that's the technology exploitation time to kind of improve the system performance. Remember, we have the intelligent transportation systems, right? We have all the things called TSMO, because transportation system management and operations, right? If your folks go to Federal Highway website, you search for TSMO, you will know what I'm talking about. That's when we implement additional technology to build our system with additional smartness or intelligence to better manage whatever we have to live up to the performance measure we expect the system, right? So you already seeing the transportation system grows from almost nothing to a highway fever era, and then to the environmental concern, and then to the technology exploitation, all the way to now. Now is the CAV fever time, I will say, right? That's the connected autonomous vehicle implementation. I say that's cherry on the sundae or the icing on the cake for the technology implementation, or the extension of the 1996 to present era, right? We continue to exploit, technology and to improve the car and to build smart infrastructure to deal with the day-to-day transportation issue, right? So I hope y'all folks see this ice charts, ice curve here, for to develop some historical perspective. So basically, every time when we are challenged by the transportation situation, people have devised a way to cope with it. Say, for example, when we don't have a car, we develop a car. When we don't have an interstate freeway system, we develop interstate system. Each and every time we improve our mobility, we make our transportation system a lot more comfortable, a lot more speedy, a lot more environmental friendly, isn't it? So y'all folks see the trend of the development. That's the historical perspective I want to share with you. These are really a repeat of that ice curve out there. So you'll see in California, 1769, you see we developed only along the Pacific coast. Only one road. Nowadays, you can enjoy the Route 101, right? So that's where it is, just Route 101. And later on, Route 1 developed into the freeway called 101. And then by 1896, when Caltrans came into being, we started to develop the statewide highway plan. We start to kind of move the freeway to the Central Valley and to the foothills of California, right? And then the rightmost picture is today's situation. You see, how much really we have developed, especially when putting in all these freeway systems, right? Like the arterials, like all those type of things. So we tried to build auto congestion to satisfy our transportation needs. However, when you talk about all this, the San Francisco Bay Bridge, I'm not sure how many people have crossed that bridge. At the beginning, in the 1940s, when the bridge first opened to traffic, the top floor or the top layer was reserved for all the light rail cars or transit use. It wasn't developed for cars. However, when you travel today, both the lower deck and the upper deck are being fully occupied, by automobile. I just didn't see much of transit use at all, right? Yes, we try to build auto congestion, but we have a good intention at the beginning, to encourage even transit or multimodal travel. However, cars taking them out because it's
Good morning, good afternoon. No,
Okay.
I'm a anonymous.
Oh,
web.
Hi, Zhongren. I think somebody muted everybody. So you have to unmute yourself. For other audience, please mute yourself while our speaker is talking, okay? Thank you very much.
Very good. I just unmute myself. Thank you, Professor Jiang. So this is the San Francisco Bay Bridge case. We tried to build auto congestion, but I think we didn't. We gave more and more road space to the automobile travel and less space, for the multimodal or transit or pedestrian bicycle. We didn't see that on the Bay Bridge, right? So do you see we eliminated congestion? I think the answer is no. All right, this is one of my own projects. Your folks, I will leave the deck of slides for you. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I can introduce you the theme of this analysis here. Will be one project, along a freeway. We have a previous bottleneck, as shown in the purple color area, right? So if your folks know, that's a bottleneck right there. And then this is from our PAMS system, Performance Measurement System of California. And you see that downstream of the bottleneck, you see that, the speed really grow to the golden color, and then that's with the higher speed up there, right? So the issue is that we tried to add a auxiliary lane out there to relieve this bottleneck. And then this is what happened after we constructed the aux lane. So basically, after we try to build additional roadway capacity out there, did we really eliminate the congestion? Again, no. We only managed to push the bottleneck downstream. If you compare these two picture again, okay, you see that we managed to push the bottleneck downstream, and that's it. The congestion still remains. All right. So again, the title of the slides is that we tried to build auto congestion, but I don't think we did. And this is additional challenges will be the climate change. Your folks already learned, the California wildfire and also the sea level rise. I think Florida suffer from sea level rise too, right? So these are can also be attributed back to transportation. Because transportation is giving a lot of emissions and causing this GHG and is contributing to these climate change, right? So that has been another concern of our transportation community, when we develop ourselves. And then when you talk about the other side of the story, and this is something new, for transportation, previously, we only think about transportation is to make people travel a lot more speedier, and that's not true. When you consider transportation, it also has its social value out there. When we construct all these freeways, I can tell you, folks, these freeways is wide, big, and then really grand looking. However, they are favoring travel by automobile. They are favoring driving. When you talk about favoritism out there, definitely you have the equity concerns, and that's the social value. And all this freeway construction, it's really also severing our communities out there, right? You might also separating, farmers from their arable lands, right? Their field, things like that sort. And then this is a picture from the city of Oakland in California. This is not my slides, okay? So I stole it from MTC, Metropolitan Transportation Commission. When you're thinking about, the one of our freeways route choice, this route selected going through all those red colored area. Remember, all those red colored area, really kind of cheaper land. See that all these areas are kind of cheaper lands. And then it happened to be, occupied by the poor most of the time. All right. So you will see again and again, transportation has site selection has been, not as equitable. Okay. When you talk about equity, when you talk about the transportation social value out there, we need to kind of redevelop. We need to change our practice. Okay, so I do not want to explain to you what equity and inequality really is. I will encourage you folks to keep your eye, to really check online, read the YouTube, what equity really is, and why transportation facility, as of today, is not fully considering all these different community needs, especially the equity needs. For example, if I want to if I want a kind of bicycle, I want to ride my bicycle, I will feel the freeway system probably is not an equitable investment, right? So I will stop there. But I think in California DOT, we really acknowledge the past. We want to correct now. Everything of our facilities, investments, we will consider equity. I can tell you right now, I'm developing a policy on managed lane or on HUV lane, high occupancy vehicle lane. We are considering specifically the equity issue. We are being required to perform an equity analysis for our investments so that we can prevent any future occurrence of all this inequity kind of development. All right, so this is a movement in the transportation industry because transportation is so close to our day-to-day life, and it creates so much impact, on this social equity. All right, so I hope your folks keep that in mind. And then when you sit in your classroom, probably you want to think again, whatever you're being taught and whatever you are experiencing. Then how about the next steps? I already seen, we developed, we have the land use pattern, we have the model sharing, and we have all these inequity issues out there. What will be the next step? The basic conclusion, from us will be, congestion cannot be eliminated. And sometimes congestion might be even a good thing, I tell you. If you don't want to build a road with no cars travel, with no people using it, right? So congestion cannot be eliminated, especially during the peak time. That's when we design our highway system, right? Remember, you use the 30th hour. We allow for 30 hours of delay out there or exceeding its capacity, right? So it is not designed supposed to be, no congestion to begin with. And then to experiencing some congestion is okay. We feel it's okay, all right? And the goal of transportation is really multifaceted. It is about people. It's about equity. It's about quality of life, and then the economy and sustainability. It's not just about moving cars from point A to point B. It is about moving people from point A to point B. That's the difference, all right? And then the next step, when you're thinking about, we probably need to think about, are we going to continue to pour more concrete to solve our transportation issue? Or we should continue or start to think about changing people's behavior at trip making. Because when you people start a trip making, you should have some additional mode choices out there. Can I ride the train? Can I bicycle? Can I even walk to save a solo driving trip, right? And if you pour a concrete, where you pour, are you going to pour it, also construct all those freeway systems? Or you pour your concrete to build your bike path, your pedwalk, your transit stop, all those type of things, right? So thinking about how, as a transportation industry worker here or a professional here, how we can facilitate the behavior change of our users out there, all right? And then how about the technology? Should we really thinking about more CAV type of technology usage, right? Should we implement more ramp metering, more HUV lanes, or more signal control, or things like that sort, to really exploit the benefits of our existing facility, right? So these are all the next steps, thinking. And today, I think I have like 2 or 3 major areas I want to touch on, all right? And then the next steps, if you're thinking about going through all this national rulemaking by the Federal Highway Administration, when you see again and again, starting from 1956 to 2021, when you see the lawmaking change, this law or the transportation bill or the transportation funding reauthorization bill, okay, and then each of the bill has a theme out there. When you see the theme before 1991, that's when the interstate system is still being constructed out there. Before that, every bill we're talking about construction. All right. After the 1991 ST bill, after the completion of the interstate system, hey, one little point out there, the interstate system didn't complete until 1996. All right. So after the completion of the interstate system, the bill or the politics has been, the investment has been focused on intermodal and focused on efficiency. All right, you see that? That's starting the 1991. If you folks know the Transportation Authorization Bill, that's a big political change right there. We focus from constructing our infrastructure to the intermodal connection to efficiency. By 1998 to 2005, we start to think about safety, economic growth, things like that. And by 2012, we talk about asset management. Why we talk about asset management is because all this 1956 investment, by that moment, the facility condition has degraded, right? So now we need to use performance management philosophy to manage all these assets. Okay, so that's where the nationwide investment go, right? That's the asset management. I believe, every DOT following the AASHTO's lead, we have done just that. And then when you see the EJA, when you see the FAST Act, all those things start to mention public transportation, the climate change, the equity. So I want your folks to also develop that perspective, especially for your PhD students out there, really see how this nation is headed now. We are really trying to develop more focus on the performance management of the existing system. We're thinking about safety, we think about asset management, and we're thinking about safety. Not necessarily we are going to expand our footprint anymore, right? So that's the political side, that's the funding side, what the next step. And you think about what I talk about, this is 3 or 4 points, you really see what I'm trying to talk about. That's the change, that's the shift. And we need to change and shift starting from our classroom probably. Everything from construction to performance, all right? I think I have used about 33 minutes now. I will try to be quick to talk about the challenges and solutions and what's happening in California, and then to answer Dr. Lu's focus. And Dr. Lu, here is the first challenge and solution. We have the carbon challenge, right? We have the environmental concern out there, so that's the challenge there. And then that's the California solution I'm going to talk about. When you're thinking about transportation, it is emitting about 50%, 49 to 50% of all the greenhouse gas in California. In California, the solution, threefold. One is the fuel standard change. We really make it way stricter for the non-lead fuel, things like that, to reduce the GHG emission. We also usher into the electrification era. Everything we want to electrify, okay? And then the third piece I want to talk about will be the vehicle mile traveled reduction, the VMT reduction piece, because in order to reach a goal in California to reduce the GHG, I think the first two, electrification and the fuel standards, will not be sufficient to live up to the 2035 and 2050 goal of the carbon neutralization in California, things like that. So we must add in the third piece, that will be the reduction of a vehicle mile traveled from our roadway users here, all right? So that's the focus. And I have done a little calculation. Every vehicle mile traveled is worth about 32 cents. It's very, very costly, folks. It's very, very costly. And then every vehicle mile traveled, if you just drive a Toyota Camry, I think you are going to give out up to 2/10 of a cubic meter of GHG. It's just 363 grams out there, okay? I want your folks to really double verify me. This is my personal calculation out there. And based on our PAMS system, VMT is costly. That's the message I want to give you all folks. And this is the goal of California. You see the black dotted line, that's our goal there. All right. And the red line is the California VMT where we are. And if you're thinking about the 2030, 2035 and 2050 to reach this goal here, we still have very much a long way to go to reduce the per capita vehicle mile traveled. Right. So that's our challenge now. That's our challenge. Really, the goal has a lot asked. Then in California, 2013, we issued a Senate Bill 743. Okay, the basic logic is this. On the left-hand side, your folks see that during the Black Friday, what your folks will do. You rush into the store and take advantage of the sale, isn't it? Because that's the sales season starts, the holiday season starts. Okay, and the same thing happens for transportation. When you see the congestion out there, when you see the congestion here, all this congestion, freeway, right? The old way for a DOT to deal with the situation is to project the traffic volume into maybe 2030, and then we will start to provide additional facility like the yellow band and the green band, right? So that's what we'll do. We call it predict and provide. That's the logic we do. We predict the traffic volume growth, and then we will provide. However, after you provide the green band and the yellow band here, you make the freeway wider and bigger and easier for people to travel. You create a situation like the Black Friday situation. Basically, you are offering transportation at a sales price. What do? People, if you're driving solo, hey, the DOT is going to build more road for me. I'm going to drive, take advantage of the sale, isn't it? So there's a green and yellow band of additional expansion of our existing infrastructure will only attract some additional VMT. It's a vehicle mile traveled, and you know VMT is very much costly and expensive. And that's the basic microeconomic principle being used in this SB 743. In the law, it says, you know, if you build additional capacity, you have to consider induced travel. Okay, so that's the basic stipulation in the law, and you cannot use only automobile delay reduction to develop additional capacity. That's what the law says. Okay, you cannot use auto delay as your only performance measure, because everything we did here, like at the upfront here, you know, when you build the additional facility here, you are using this word level of service, isn't it? And this level of service is only driver's experience, isn't it? If the level of service, according to the highway capacity manual, you know, it's based on the density, based on the speed, based on the delay, a driver's feel. If they don't feel comfortable, if they complain, the DOT is supposed to reduce the level of service from maybe level of service E to level of service A or B, isn't it? So the law says you cannot use that as the basis to expand your system, because this is the evil cycle. Once you consider the induced piece of the VMT, isn't it? So it has been shown in this chart as the microeconomic principle here. You know, you do have an elasticity. Once you reduce the travel time, you make your roadway a lot easier to travel, you are going to induce additional demand. How we're going to implementing that law in California? We have a climate action plan for transportation infrastructure called CAIPTI, initiative. This is an initiative. Basically, all transportation funding in California, we are going to invest in multimodal, in technology. We are not going to expand our capacity, or we are going to consider SB 743, consider induced travel when we expand our capacity. You have to basically mitigate the additional VMT that will be induced. That will be induced. Listen to me carefully. If you only mitigate the delta VMT piece, all right, the delta VMT will be something additional out there when you expand your freeway system. All right, folks. So that's where we are, how we are implementing to reduce the VMT piece. One of the three actions, right, to consider the carbon neutralization and to live up to the, remember the black dotted line out there, you know, for per capita VMT goal. All right, so this one I already talked about. So basically, you know, in California, according to our department's commitment and also SB 743, we changed the performance measure for our projects, especially in the environmental clearance process. And this impact is huge. And it does carry equity connotations. It does carry sustainability connotations because we are purposefully investing to kind of consider the planet and consider sustainability, right? And the performance measure change definitely has a lot of implication for your folks out there to develop the analytics, environmental clearance analytics, right? All right. The other thing we're doing will be complete streets, big time. We are developing active transportation plan, thinking about multimodal transportation. We offer choices so that we consider all these paths, you know, so they have their own dedicated right of way. All right. And this is a picture in Sacramento. You will see almost all our street, you know, got changed, you know, to favor to develop bike lanes. Like in DC, I've been to DC last year 4 times. You know, each and every time I was so impressed by the complete streets development, by the roadway cross section rearrangement, to thinking about multimodal use. Okay, bus on shoulder, that's what we're doing also. We talk about managed lanes, right? Managed lane offer you additional way of travel. You can pay for that, right? You can, you know, carpool to kind of save the empty seats in your car, isn't it? So that's what we're doing. We also doing a lot of traffic calming, you know, thinking about the safety side, you know, especially previous years, decades, you know, a lot of the traffic calming doesn't happen too much on the state highway, right? Not the case anymore. On the state highway, we're thinking about, you know, favoring the different modes. You have to calm down the traffic, reduce vehicle speed to make sure traffic safety goes hand in hand with all these initiatives. Last year, I have a very much an initiative, I call it, will be to develop mobility hubs. In fact, these hubs are basically the park and ride lots, the existing park and ride lots. In California, we have 222 of those. And then we feel if we develop those hubs and integrate, use those hubs or park and ride lots as the joint point between the state and the local system, I think we can offer a lot seamless connection between the mode transfer. So we can encourage, you know, even bicycle use or even pedestrian walking, you know, and connect with the managed lane system, especially, right? So this is the mobility hub. You know, I don't have the time to show you, but like I said, I will leave this slide deck with your folks so your folks can really check into our Palomar Park and Ride lot, you know, as a sample. That lot really connects with the freeway management system through the local arterial, and then you put in, you know, the these lots, you know, with additional new amenities, including electrification, solar panel, EV chargers, bike lockers, ADA parking space, and then transit stops or BRT, bus rapid transit stops out there. So basically, we're trying to using the hub to integrate multimodal at one place and make it a seamless experience to attract additional multimodal travel, to alleviate the solo driving, to reduce to improve the transit use. All right, and then this mobility hub initiative will also re-emphasize my point that's not to pour too much additional concrete, but to focus on people's behavioral change. And on top of that, we are implementing a bunch of technology out there, including all the statistical strategies. We can put, the ITS signboards, along our freeway to notify people the number of parking lots available, maybe the charging of the parking lots. We can also install parking systems, parking management systems, things like that type of statistical applications, right? So you can see we are hiding, in the coming next 10 years, we are planning to pilot this type of mobility hub to give a facelift to the existing parking lots. We budgeted about $50 million at this moment. Okay, and I will expect, this program will continue to grow so that we will, really live up to our community's expectations, right? All right, so the mobility hubs, I already talked about it in all, but this is our definition. The mobility hubs will be encouraging the modal shifts, improve the modal share of other modes. So that's our purpose. All right, definitely we're improving the condition, installing technology, and also, adding the connectivity necessary. And we can also implement some curb space management, right? So I know, USF is really good at all these developments, so I've read a bunch of papers on the curb space stuff. So that's the mobility hub stuff. And that's the carbon. The carbon challenge, we are dealing with it by using the law, SB 743, by changing the environmental clearance process, and we are by implementing the complete streets, and by investing in mobility hubs, by investing in managed lanes, additional TISMO technology improvements. So that's what we're doing now to reduce the VMT, to live up to the carbon neutralization goal in California. So that's one challenge of the transportation system, right? Your folks already seen from solo driving, we want to move to multimodal. And then how we're investing it, starting from the law, from the workforce, from the process, we are really changing big time across California's Department of Transportation. The next challenge and a solution will be intelligence. I'm a guy, heading a office, mobility programs, and I do have a branch that's called TISMO, basically the ITS devices, right? So in the 1940s, again, back to the history, the problem will be traffic congestion, isn't it? Traffic congestion. And the solution is what? Build more. And I already talked about, repeat myself, will be predict and provide. Predict and provide. You use level service as your performance measure, right? So that's absolutely the conventional way. In the 1940s, we do business that way. Until the 1970s, we realized, we have the NEPA and then CEQA environmental law out there. And we are seeing all these smoggy days, in LA area, right? We notice that transportation really is a big polluter, because every day we are driving 1 VMT. Do you folks remember how many grams of VMT this thing is going to create? 363 grams, right? And then that's a 2/10 of a cubic meter of GHGs out there. That's a 1 vehicle mile you travel. And in the 1970s, I'm not sure we realized that yet, but definitely we understand we cannot terminate or eliminate congestion. We cannot build out of congestion. So we have to do something different. That's why all these managed lane, that's why the REM metering stuff, that's why all the loop detectors, that's why the TMC's Transportation Management Center came into being, right? That's Governor Reagan at that time, in 1971, we in California, in the LA area, we started it, the 42 miles transportation control system. And you see it's really kind of deplorable. You see the TMC at that moment, you know, we still have a very small TV out there. You see that small TV out there, you know, we use, and the signboard we use, and then this is the freeway service patrol or the roadside assistance. You know, that's when we call them technology, right? That's at that time. And today we do have a lot of additional system out there implemented, you know, and a big TMCs, big CCTV bank. But again, that's the evolution of the system, right? And then we also have a philosophy, you know, to implement technology that in the early 2000s. So basically, I joined Caltrans year 2000. In the past 20 years, I think our focus will be technology implementation, including incident management, travel information, say 511 system, and traffic control. That's our focus. We are thinking about using little and little effort to expand our system and to improve our system, you know, through pouring concrete. All right, so that has been the philosophy. But the philosophy, if you're in the CAV days, in today, I think the philosophy got to change a little bit to this pyramid. This pyramid will be because we are living in a very data-rich era. So we have to use big data to as the base of all this technology implementation to support all the TSMO applications and multimodal integration and operational improvement effort. And the future I see for mobility will be utilizing CAV together with smart infrastructure so that we can support all maybe mobility as a service, maybe all the behavioral change, maybe all the Ubers and Lyfts, you know, paratransits, all those type of innovative transportation system, right? Trying to develop mobility, further develop mobility, and considering the safety, equity, and climate and economic needs out there, right? So that will be the my personal opinion out there. I can see our mobility pyramid, you know, has changed a little bit. Basically, the technology piece will further expand into the big data, into the CAV and the smart infrastructure area. All right, so that's the intelligence piece. We got to not only build intelligent cars, but also intelligent infrastructure. And that's exactly, you know, what we have been doing in California. And this is a featured slide, you know, on our incident management and work zone management Tableau system. So basically, we are utilizing a lot of additional data to kind of provide this type of dashboards, you know, to inform our decision process, right? So your folks, if who need this websites, I'm not sure your folks can browse, but if you need any of this type of information, you know, please let me know. It's a very interesting dashboard system so that we can know that are we living up to the 90-minute goal of incident clearance in California. You see that? We have a 90-minute goal in California out there. We still have some incident out there. We didn't meet that goal yet, right? So that's one. We are definitely exploiting the data side. That's the big data side, right? And we are also building the broadband middle mile that's across the state. Following a governor's exec order, you know, we are trying to, you know, improve the communication and everywhere using broadband and fiber, you know, for our system to support all these technology needs, the big data needs, right? CAV. We are implementing some of our CAVs, but mostly will be in the planning stage because Tesla keep on running into collisions, right? And sometimes even killing people. So we are very, very cautious, you know, not to, you know, walking too fast before we can, you know, taking very steady steps here, right? So the major implementation right now, I see last time at the Los Angeles International called ITS World Congress. At that conference, I think Caltrans showcased one CAV kind of application at the work zone, right? We are using automated vehicle to shuttle our workers, from the driving public. All right, so that has been kind of a start to see some implementation of automated driving here in California. Definitely, we have developed a bunch of plans, implementation plans, in the CAV area. All right, electrification, like I mentioned, at the mobility hubs, definitely we are incorporating all those things in roadside rest areas, and then we are also electrify the buses, things like that. We are also encouraging all those vehicles, Tesla, to drive for to have access of our managed lane system. Right? Remember, HUV lanes is designed for high occupancy vehicle, right? So not for solo drivers. All right, so basically these are all the technology and intelligence area of development. And yes, we have a lot of challenges, but we are implementing that, especially through the TSMO process. That's called a TSMO process, okay? So folks, TSMO, Transportation System Management and Operation, we are trying to exploit our existing facility for more productivity, okay, to transport more, and then to consider multimodal out there. We allow for the buses to run on shoulders, things like that. So that's the technology piece. Oh, the funding piece, definitely we have always been in short for funding, right? So yes, you see the gas tax, in California, 1923, we only charged 2 cents per gallon, and now we charge big money, right? So we charge about 18.4 cents for the Fed side, 50 cents something, for the state also, right? So we are very much, a costly state in terms of gas, and definitely gas tax. It's really, really high in California. But again, with all this implementation of electrification, all those cars does not pay gas tax anymore, right? Yes, they pay additional registration fees out there. But again, we see the shortfall of the excess tax revenue out there. And then when you see our facility continue to deteriorate, when we see all this new initiatives out there, definitely you see a way short in the investment. So luckily, we have our local agencies, continue to put in their sales tax, all those type of things to invest together with the state to improve our transportation system, right? That's the shortfall. And then this one I already talked about, when you're thinking about, the new and you have to upkeep the old, the existing, definitely we see major shortfall of our investment out there. And we really need to develop new strategies, to invest in this existing transportation system. All right. So my question will be for you folks, is tolling the answer for the future? Can we toll per miles per VMT driven? Can we toll per car? Can we toll per capita? How we toll them? Will people accept? Right? So that's really the key to develop a steady stream of transportation funding to live up to all these new performance measures, new goals, equity, all those type of things, right? All right. 1 more minute will be you. That will be the workforce. When I talk about all these changes, all these challenges, all this evolution, and all this probably even revolution in the industry, how you will adapt to it. That's a workforce. And this is in Caltrans, I tell you, 60% of our workforce exceeding 50 something years old. We are, especially for the managers, all right? We are in need of new blood here. And if you folks interested working for Caltrans, please let me know. We do have pretty competitive, pay package, okay? And then how you can prepare yourself from a student to an engineer. I really want you folks, don't thinking about the concrete, thinking about trip making behavior, thinking about multimodal, thinking about how transportation, it's social value, it's a social responsibility. All right, no matter you in the area of infrastructure development, land use development, multimodal technology development, you need to thinking about the social and equity values. All right, hope my presentation will be beneficial for you to develop yourself. And then I hope one day you can join the DOT area and especially join Caltrans. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Wang, for your inviting presentation. And you see the crowd in the room, and you are right on time, like 12, 1 o'clock. So I think we still can have some time for you to take some questions from the audience. So if there's any question from audience online or in the room, please either unmute yourself and ask question or any question in the room.
I saw one question. Is the GHG reduction applied for the freight industry? No. Heavy vehicle VMT is not in the VMT mitigation program. Okay, so according to SB 743, freight vehicle mile travel is excluded. So we should applaud to the lawmakers out there, right? So we are supporting the economy, supporting the freight industry. So everything we are targeting is the solo driving. Great question. Any additional question out there?
Is there a question from the audience here? It seems like a no. Okay.
Very good.
I think there's one more question popping up in the chat. Yeah. So the question is, being a student of planning, we are now learning the contemporary issue of transportation in the US. This was a great presentation and very relevant to me. I wanted to know what kind of infrastructure development was adopted for the CAV piloting program.
Great question also. A lot of things have been planned. Like I said, because Tesla keep on crashing into things, right? So that really gave us a lot of uneasiness out there to really implement too fast, right? But I can guarantee you a lot of things being planned, especially in the intersection crash reduction area. So we have been out there thinking about the infrastructure out there, so that every intersection signal control will be kind of web addressed, things like that sort. A lot of things have been planned. So go online, check our plan, the CAV plan. I think those are really public documents, and you can feel free to reach out to me too.
All right. A follow-up question from Sarah is how is land development community responding to need to reduce the VMT by providing more expensive infill and redevelopment?
Thank you, Sarah. Great question also. That's the local development side. We do give them also credits out there. One stipulation in the law, SB 743, will be as long as your development is along a high quality transit corridor. As long as along a high quality transit corridor, you do not need to pay the transportation impact fee. And then as at the DOT, we are really kind of loosening the control in terms of the traffic impact fee, things like that. I think that program has been very much kind of mellowed out. We encourage all those low VMT type of development. And I also heard, in some of the local agencies, they are also building houses, intentionally reduce the parking spot according to the previous, guidance, things like that, to encourage people to use different mode of travel.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wang. I think there's no question from the room, and I don't see any question from the online attendees. So far, I think thank you, Dr. Wang, again for your very inviting presentation. And we know that Dr. Wang has been very enthusiastic in education and provides like random resources and guidance to students. So for those of you who are interested in following up with Dr. Wang, you may like contact him directly. And his email address can be found online. He's working with Caltrans, so you can find his email address. I think it's also including in the slide. So far, okay. So we're gonna have another seminar next Friday. So Dr. Wang, thank you again. Okay. Hope
Thank
have
you.
a great
Bye-bye.
day over there. Right, so I'll see you guys next week then for the next seminar.